This program features live coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.
Good afternoon, everybody. Special welcome to all the kids that are watching. I believe we got over 50 different families from what sounds like 8 different countries with kids joining in this afternoon. So you're starting off with myself, Sean. We got Marcel behind the camera. And it turned out to be a very, very hot day. I think we're now sitting at about 32 degrees Celsius, which is about 90 odd Fahrenheit. So very, very hot. And that's why we started off in the shade. If you look just off here to the right, Marcel pans, if you can see through the trees, we've got a small herd of buffaloes. Now, if you have any questions about these buffaloes or anything else during the drive, especially for the first kids section, which is the first 45 minutes, you can send your questions to kidsquestions@wildearth.tv. We're going to prioritize those kids questions for the beginning. And I think perhaps inside here, behind this big male, there actually are some calves. I saw one light brown shape. Now, quite often the calves of these buffaloes will be that lighter brown. Oh, there's also a buffalo behind us. And as I said, it's very, very hot. And so all of the animals are going to be in the shade. On the way to these buffaloes, we actually drove past an elephant that was also standing in the shade, but then he turned off the road, went into the bushes. Very similar to these guys. And I'm trying to see, you can see where they are. It's very, very thick. We got a question, first question of the day from Scarlett and Alex Eve, wanting to know what I love most about my job. Scarlett and Alex, there are many things to love about my job. You know, I love the animals, so seeing them is really awesome. I love taking pictures, so doing that's really awesome. But my favorite would have to be, Scarlett and Alex, sharing this experience with you and all the other viewers that are watching. You know, because I enjoy it. And then to get questions from you and to know that you guys are enjoying it, and a way for you to escape and be out here and see these things and have fun while we're doing it. It's really awesome. I like being around happy people. And when you're out here, when you're doing this, people are always happy. So that would be my favorite thing about the job. It would be making people happy and working and being around happy people. Even the animals, they're happy at the moment. These guys got some shade. I can hear a lot of buffaloes. There's a lot of noise going on around here. A lot of bushes shaking, a lot of snorting. And I think what we might do is actually drive around and see if we can get inside there. We don't want to go in here. You can see how thick it is. We're just going to end up driving over a lot of things and chasing the buffaloes. So there's a gap a little bit further down that I think we're going to try and aim for. See if we can get around there and see some more of the herd. So we saw them across the river. We were sitting on the bank on the other side. So the river's just over here to the right. We were sitting on the other side under a tree in some shade. And then we saw one buffalo cross, and then we started hearing the rest on the other side. So while I try and navigate, find a way inside here, what we're going to do is send you across so Djuma can say hello as well.
Hello, good afternoon and welcome to the Sunset Safari, where the sun has not begun to sink just yet. My name is James Henry, on camera is David, and his beard is growing back, thankfully, so he doesn't look quite so creepy as he did a few days ago when he shaved it off. Now, our plan is to go off and try and find the lions that Lauren found this morning, but I'm pretty sure they're going to be lying on their fat bellies doing absolutely nothing. So we'll see what else we can find on our way down there. And at the waterhole here, we have found a number of things already, and we're going to begin with the little grebe. I'm just going to try and get past the sun so you are not blinded. There is the little grebe, David. Can you see it? Now that is Mama Grebe, and she is sitting on her nest. You can see she's built a little island on which to lay her eggies. And so far we've seen 2 eggies under there. They can lay a few more than that, but 2 eggies is what we've seen so far. Isn't she lovely? She's like a little duck. And just to remind you, if you are between the ages of 0 and 18, you may send us questions. If you are not that age, you can pretend to be that age and send us questions to kidsquestions@wildearth.tv. That's kidsquestions@wildearth.tv. That is a magnificent picture of a beautiful bird that is only just habituated to us. Now what that means is that every time we came along here before, she used to get up, quickly cover her eggs, and then float off to try and hide the fact that she was there, or that her eggs were there. And now you can see that she is she is totally comfortable with us being around here, which is wonderful. Isn't that sweet? Hello, Mitra from India. We observe animals for 6 hours a day. So, well, if we're lucky, sometimes we observe just the road, or the grasses and the trees, which is what I did this morning for 3 hours. And if we're lucky, we find some animals. And then we observe them for 6 hours every day. Morning, between 6 and 9, Central African time, and then in the afternoon between 3 and 6. Now let's see what else we've got at this waterhole. We have got some impala having a drink. Now impala are very heavily water dependent animals, which means they must drink every single day. And they're having a lovely drink. And then we've also got a nice heron the other side there, Dave. You see him there? A grey heron, which has a deeply unattractive call, but it's an impressive bird. Scarlet and Molly, as I said, the grebe is sitting on 2 eggies, as far as I can tell. Just the 2 eggs. They can lay a few more, but this one's just on 2, as far as we know. And you're looking at the heron there, and then there's a hippopotamus way at the far end underneath those sticks. And this rather strange hippopotamus is quite interesting, because what it likes to do is play with sticks. Now we've seen it a number of times actually playing with sticks, which seems a little ridiculous, but that's what it likes to do. It's a bit bored, obviously, all on its own, and so it plays with sticks, which I think is quite funny. A hippo playing with sticks. Ashton, aged 9 in Johannesburg. My sympathies for the town you live in. I grew up there myself. You're wondering how you tell the difference between a male and a female grebe. As far as I'm aware, Ashton, they are the same, male and female. I will just check for you. Yeah, no, males and females are the same. So you can't tell the difference unless you dissect them, which, well, you don't want to be doing that, right? Isn't that great? And what she's doing here is not so much keeping her eggs warm, but what she's doing is protecting them from the sun. let's now go across to Lauren, who's going to say hello. She's already got some antelope.
Good afternoon, everyone, and of course, welcome to your live safari. The Scottish lass is out and about, and she's looking at some male impala. Impala are giveaways to everything that is going on around here. They are the eyes and the ears of the bush, so of course it's always worth stopping and having a little look at them. So, my name is Lauren, and I do have Owen on camera today on this very hot and sticky afternoon. The sun is shining behind Owen's head, so bear with me while I do that. And of course, for the animals out here as well, it's very hot and sticky for them too. They will spend time off in the thicket, in the shade, where they can at least avoid some of this hot sun. And we have such a range of kids watching today from all the countries around the world, of course, including my UK, South Africa, USA, Australia, Switzerland, Zimbabwe, France and Israel, and many, many more. If I did not say your country, I do apologise. We do know you are watching, I promise. So you must ask us questions. Whatever you want to know about the African bush, please ask us questions as we search around frantically for animals. I've been rather lucky lately, and I do hope my luck continues. Not just with the cats, but with anything. It's really elephants that I want to see today swimming. But sometimes it's just worth stopping, turning off your engine and having a listen to what's going on. That's exactly what has happened to me the past 2 days. It's been sound that has actually given the game away. And with these male impala right now, they're all males. Owen can give you a good view of their horns, and that's how we know they're all males. They are full of beans round. It's almost a rutting season where the males will all challenge one another, become very territorial all of a sudden, and they're essentially competing for the females. And this is all going to become very noisy soon. They make a sort of snorting sound. They're very vocal during rutting season. So it's going to become slightly tricky for us because we'll hear a noise and we'll think, oh, was that an alarm call? Or, wait a minute, was it a snort? It will mostly be snorting, I can assure you. The males become so preoccupied with being territorial and guarding the females that they actually lose a little bit of condition, they get skinny, and they also become less aware of the predators. They're not as focused as they normally are. They're preoccupied with the females. Okay, I think we shall bumble on, Owen. The impala are slowly moving off into the thicket. And see what we can find along the way. We're going to head north today. We're going to head to one of the dams in the north and see if we have any sort of elephant pool parties happening up there. That's exactly what I want to see. Okay, as I bumble up north to see what we can find, we are going to send you across to andBeyond in Ngala, with Sean, as he's still with his buffalo.
Okay, so we managed to find a bit of a gap. Now, as we came down here to where we are now, some of the buffaloes did move away from us, so I stopped and I spot here. Now, they seem to be moving out across in front of us. You can see this one here. As a female, there's actually quite a few of them spaced out in front of us. They just camouflage quite well, especially there amongst the sun. You can see one on the left of the screen, there's two off to the right, there's two in the middle. So there's quite a lot here. I see a lot more off to our far right that you won't be able to see through the trees. I'm thinking there's probably close on about 200 buffaloes in these trees around us. And all of these ones that we can see at the front here, most of them look to be females. I think there might be one male at the back on the right, but the rest of them all seem to be females. But I want to sit here because I think they're all going to walk down across from us. Now, there's no water where they've come from. And if they keep walking right past our vehicle, not far, maybe a kilometer and a little bit, there is a water hole. And I think that's where they might be heading. got at least my first overseas question of the day from Gracie. So I'm just listening. So Gracie lives in Dubai. She's 7 years old. And Gracie would like to know, are buffaloes aggressive? Now, Gracie, a herd like this? No. Generally, you find a herd, it's mainly females. It's got some young males, got some calves. A herd like this is generally quite relaxed. They're not going to attack, especially not us. They're not aggressive towards the vehicles or the people. If a lion had to come in here and try and catch one, there's a good chance that the herd will fight back against the lion. So in that sense, Gracie, they can be aggressive. They will fight back against lions. But that's a herd like this. So to other animals, yes, they can be aggressive, Gracie. But to us, no. They pretty relaxed. They can walk around the car. They just keep their distance. We all, I'm watching their behavior the whole time, making sure they are relaxed and calm and comfortable. If not, then we'll move away. But most of the time, Gracie, they are very calm. It's the big, old, grumpy males, Gracie, that you got to watch out for. We got a question from Perth, from Rohan and Ara. They want to know how thick is the buffalo's horns. So, guys, it changes. A male will actually have very, very thick horns. I've never measured them, as per se, but the males have very thick horns because they run into each other. It's how they fight. They sort of headbutt each other. So look at that one on the screen. The one lifting its head up. That's a female. So if you look on the top of her head, you can see there's a lot of hair there. Now look at her horns. Now her horns, they are quite thick. If you had to probably measure from the bottom, the actual width of the horns, they may be 2-3 centimeters, maybe 2 centimeters thick. That's on the female. Now the male will be substantially thicker than that. He will be maybe a very big male, maybe 5 centimeters thick. We'll see if we can find a skull of a previously dead buffalo and have a look at that. Because then we'll be able to pick it up and measure it. I don't want to go and pick up one of these guys and measure their horns for you. But it depends. The males will be thicker than females because the males do a lot of fighting against each other. So they need much thicker horns, thicker skulls. We're going to see now. I think there's a male that's going to come out. You can see there's quite a lot. There's a female coming out right here. Now look at her head. Again, that's how we tell it's a female. We got a question, a local question from Gauteng, a 7-year-old Stefan. Stefan wants to know how much a buffalo weighs. So Stefan, this one here, in the screen that you're looking at, this female, she's quite large in a good way. And she probably weighs maybe 600-700 kilograms. Where a big male will weigh maybe 700-800 kilograms. So let's say they'll range between 600 and 800 kilograms between male and female. Sure, there's some places where there's records of a male approaching a ton. These buffaloes get very, very big. They get very big. That's why it's one of the favorite foods of lions. Because it's well worth the effort for the lions. You catch one of these guys and it feeds that pride of 16 for 2 days. There's a lot of meat. But we're going to sit here. As we're sitting here, you can see they're starting to relax. They're starting to come this way. So we're going to spend some more time here, see if they come out. In the meantime, we're going to send you back across to James.
We are looking at some impalas who don't seem to like each other very much. We're getting towards the lions, but these two impalas were having a sparring match, and that means that they were having a fight that wasn't a very serious fight. There we go. If it was a serious fight, they'd be going kang. You'd be hearing the smashing of the horns together. But but this is very kind of half-hearted. Now it's a three-way fight. This one's just checking if his friend's been wounded on the head. Hello, Alap, age 10 in India. Remember, the one of the best things, well, not the best things, one of the things about this lockdown that I find so interesting, Alap, is that nature doesn't care about it. So, no, the animals aren't bored. And I find it so comforting that these animals are just going about their lives and they don't have to worry about our human problems. And I find it wonderful that we're able to watch them and enjoy them. And I find it very grounding, as they say, to know that nature is carrying on even though the world is in such trauma. Does that make sense? So I don't think they get bored at all. And I'm very grateful for the fact that we're able to spend time watching them. It makes me feel like our world is not quite so awful. But of course I am extremely lucky to be out here when many people are stuck indoors. Luke, I'm afraid I missed that aged 5 in Dubai. We'll get it again. Now this fight's getting a bit more serious. No, Luke, impala do not charge humans normally. In fact, I don't know of any examples of impalas charging humans. Normally they leave us well alone. Which is very lucky because, you know, although they're quite small and they are sort of, I suppose, not the most terrifying looking animals in the bush, they are very fast and much stronger than human beings. And so if they wanted to do some harm to us, they could, quite easily. This is quite fun. They're coming closer to us now with their little fight. It's almost like they want to show off and demonstrate their skills at fighting. And every so often you'll see that one at the back lifting his lip up. Now that's the precursor to their doing their roaring. So they, oh, that's a lovely shot. So they will start to roar, and they do that, they stick their lips up like that. Hello, Sultan, I hope I'm saying your name correctly, age 10 in Germany. You're wondering if if I've seen impalas break their horns. I've never seen one physically break his horn, but I've seen lots and lots of impalas with broken horns, if that makes sense. No, Nashika, there are no doctors around to help, excuse me, the impala if they get hurt. So if they are silly enough to hurt themselves, they're on their own. There's nothing that we can do about it. If an endangered animal like a wild dog gets hurt, then we might do something about it. But these guys, if they hurt themselves, they're on their own. It's quite fun, this, isn't it? It's really interesting. Now, Claire, you're just 7 years old, and what you're going to learn as you get a little bit older is that what's going on here is quite similar to what happens with human beings. And you will find that when you are, let's say, 16 or 17, you're going to find that the boys start to behave a little bit like these impala are doing, and you'll find that you'll want to be as far away from them as possible when they behave in this fashion, and that's exactly the same as the impalas. So they're all showing off for each other, and all the girls have thought, "Ugh, you guys are pathetic," and they've gone off. And the males, despite the fact that they're basically showing off for the females, haven't managed to figure out that the girls have all gone because they find these guys a bit tiresome. So we're quite like these impala human beings are. Emily and Finley, good question. How do they stop lions getting them when they're asleep? They don't really. They don't actually sleep that well. And so what happens is when they're having a sleep or a doze, it's more like a doze. You know when you're sort of half asleep but not quite fully asleep? That's how they sleep. There's always one who's awake looking around. And then they'll get up and move around a bit, but they never go to sleep completely. And the result of that is that they can avoid being eaten by predators most of the time. Because there are a lot of them, and I know a lot of them get taken by predators. A lot of them survive. This is a really fun sighting. Alrighty, we're going to go to Lauren now, who apparently has got something called a little critter.
Yes, I do have a little critter, essentially, and it's a grasshopper. But what's really interesting is just the way it's moving. It's sliding. It's not using its back legs at all. The most powerful legs, the hind legs, a grasshopper can have, the ones that are crucial to its movement, it's not using them. Can you see that? It's using its front 4 legs. Insects only ever have 6 legs in total. So the front 4 legs are pulling along the whole body, and it's not moving its hind legs. I wonder if it's enjoying a little belly scratch. Sorry, that was my hand, Owen. I'm going to pop my head down so I don't get caught on camera. Hello, grasshopper. What are you doing? Are you scratching your tummy? Are you having a belly rub? On our car bonnet. Now it jumped here, so its hind legs are definitely working. I don't quite know what this little guy is up to. Prakira. Oh, I think he just slid down the bonnet there. That wasn't very elegant, Mr. Grasshopper. You're asking, can girls also do this? Prakira, you're asking, can girls also do this job? Yes, I'm a girl. Believe it or not, I am. And of course we can. It's a male-dominated industry, but absolutely we need more females. Now, I'm just going to get my new porcupine pointer. Yes, I have a new one because I broke the other one. Just to have a look at a grasshopper. Just to give you an sort of indication. This is a body, and you can see how long those hind legs are. They're completely out of proportion to the rest of the body, and that is, of course, because they need them to hop. Grasshoppers can spring up and out, and essentially they can cover great distances, and this is, of course, so that they can escape predators. And essentially they need those hind legs. They have very, very special muscles in the hind legs. So I don't quite know what our little grasshopper was doing there, but hopefully it's okay and not sitting on the bonnet of the car. We did have a hornbill here. My goodness, everyone, can I just comment on the size of this dung? I think I'm going to pick some dung up for an investigation. I love a good bit of dung. You've got to love dung. But these are massive. Oh Oh my goodness, this must have came from a very large elephant. Are you ready, everyone? No, it's really not that heavy. But this is one ball of dung that has came out an elephant's bottom. Look at it. I'm actually going to bring it onto my car for you all, my nice clean car. Now it's dry, and we can touch dung. We would never touch carnivorous scats that comes from a carnivore, but we can touch dung. It's basically just, well, plant matter. And it's all dried up. Oh, it smells great. I'm going to try and break some apart for you so we can see inside. Now, inside it's still slightly damp, which means that it's semi-fresh from the bottom. But this must have been a very, very large elephant in there. Josephine, you're asking, you're in London. You're 6 years old and you're asking, how much does an elephant poo weigh? Well, I have to say this is one of the biggest pieces of poo I have ever seen. And it's heavy. I would say it's similar to those 5k weights we have. 5 kilograms? I have no idea. But it's massive. I'm going to show you it in comparison to my head. Yes. This came out an elephant's bottom. It's massive. But essentially, it's really important. Dung creates a habitat for little insects to live inside. It creates food for dung beetles. It creates an area that insects can lay their eggs. And it also breaks down into the soil and recycles nutrients. So although it just looks like a piece of dung, it's actually really, really important to the ecosystem out here. Elephants are really not good at digesting their food. They're good at eating it, but they're not good at processing it. And half the food ends up coming out on their tummy, and that's why it is safe for us to touch, because it's just dried up vegetable matter. Now, this is my favourite part of dealing with dung, the part where you get to launch it back into the environment. Skills of a safari guide. Now, this is going to be the tricky one. This is a larger segment. Oh, there we go, ladies and gentlemen. That is how you deal with elephant poo. And now it's all over my car. Fantastic. But it's really not smelly. And it's not dangerous for us to touch. It's just dung. So normally we use the word dung, dearie me, when it refers to herbivorous poo, which is just made up of vegetation, dried vegetation that's passed through the body and out through the bottom. And we use the word scat when it refers to a carnivore's poo, which is much more fecal, very smelly, and it will contain things like parasites and bacteria that we would not want to touch in a million years. Okay, so I'm almost at the dam. I'm excited and hope that the animal responsible for that dung is swimming. But while I bumble on, it looks like Sean is still with his beefaloes.
Okay, so our patience have paid off. You can see now buffaloes all around us, actually, all across the front of us, around there, off to our right-hand side. We're watching none behind us, which is good, but they're all across in front of us. That's a very big herd. You can see in the pictures there in the frame. There's a lot of buffaloes spread out around here. Lots of little ones as well, lots of little calves. You can see the darker, the lighter brown ones rather. The ones directly in front of us with the smaller horns, the straighter horns, like that one there. That's one of the calves. They're a few months old now, born around December, January. But I've just been told some exciting news. I'm not making any promises, just telling you guys what's happening. So if my soul zooms out a little bit, well, actually all the way, if you look sort of down there, just other side of these big trees is the Timbavati River. Now from where we are to the river is possibly 150 meters, if that, maybe 100 meters. And right there, through these trees, on the bank, is the Birmingham Pride of Lions. They are sitting there. They have heard these buffaloes. Now, I can't see them. There's another ranger there with them that says 2 of the females are looking this way. So there's a potential for something to happen here. You know, we've got to bear in mind, though, it is still fairly hot. These lions have eaten a buffalo that they only finished yesterday or the day before. But if these buffaloes keep heading that way, as we've said many times before, lions, predators, leopards, anything, they are opportunistic. If these buffaloes walk past, there's a good chance something might happen. But in the meantime, what we're going to do, we're going to stay here. We're going to sit here with this herd. We want to see where they go. We want to see what they do. We want to see how relaxed they do it. So we got a question from Perth again, from Rohan, 10 years old, wanting to know, do buffaloes have good eyesight? Rohan, I believe that they do. I think their eyesight is pretty good. I haven't heard that they have bad eyesight. Probably not their main sense, but their eyesight is good. They would be able to see the lions. I've watched lions stalk buffaloes through long grass, and the buffaloes have spotted them from quite a way off. So yes, I'd say their eyesight is good. Their eyesight is good. If we ask myself just to look on the right here, there's a buffalo with a broken horn. There's a female there that chipped off her horn. There it is. So now you can see that broken off section there, how thick that horn is. You can see it's also very solid. She lifts up her head for us. That's a female. Yes, it is a female. And a little bit strange for females to have broken horns. As I said, they don't fight. They're not like the males do, so they're not clashing to break the horns, which is normally how the males break it. But maybe when she was young, she broke it. Maybe she was against a tree or something like that, or she did have a fight with the male that was trying to chase her calf or something like that, and she got in a conflict, broke her horn. But it takes a lot of force to do something like that. You can see all of them, though. They take a bite and then they're up and they're looking and they're watching us. And then they eat and then they watch us. But as I was saying earlier, Birmingham Pride is quite close by. That is the buffalo's biggest predator, and it sounds like James has managed to find a lion.
Yeah, it is a lion, everybody, and I recognize it as a cat. This is probably the first cat I've seen in, well, I don't know, 2 weeks. I'm very grateful to be looking at a cat. And this is the male lion of the Avoca Coalition called Mohawk. And you can see why he's called Mohawk, because he's got a, David? Mohawk, exactly. Now, for those of you who were not on drive this morning, the Djuma Pride, who is Mohawk's, I suppose, pride and joy, if you like, killed a wildebeest yesterday evening. Right, Greer, you're asking a very good question, because you are in the interesting phase of life where your teeth are falling out. And it's a very strange phase of life, that, isn't it? I remember it distinctly. Yes, you're absolutely correct. Baby lions, just like you, will lose their teeth. Every mammal, as far as I'm aware, in the world has got or gets milk teeth, loses them, and then gets adult teeth. And lions are no different. They will lose their teeth a long time before 6, though. They'll probably lose their milk teeth at around about 6 to 8 months, I'm guessing. I don't know that for sure. By 6, they're already very sort of middle-aged adults. Nice question. Now, he's panting like that because he's hot. It's a warm day. And I have to tell you, we've been very lucky with lion sightings at Ngala and here, in so much as the lions have not been fat and fast asleep under bushes. The last few sightings we've had, the lions have really been moving around. And let's hope that continues, because a lot of the time, at this time of the day, when it's hot, say around about 32 degrees Celsius, I'm guessing, what you find is that they are fast asleep. Ruby and Tabitha, I'm going to give you what's known as a facetious answer before I give you the correct answer. The answer is the same number of teeth that a male lion has. Ha 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 ha. That's called a facetious answer. Now I'm just going to look up how many teeth lions have because I can't remember in my very small brain. They have 30 teeth. 3 incisors, top and bottom. 1 canine, top and bottom. What are you laughing at, David? 3 premolars on the top and 2 on the bottom, or 1 molar, top and bottom. 30 teeth. It's a lot of tuffs, that. An interesting question from Luke, Cassia, and Daniel in Johannesburg, wondering what the most cat-like cat is between lion, leopard, and cheetah. Luke, Cassia, and Daniel, I think that the most cat-like cat, I'm assuming you mean like a house cat, is probably the leopard. Certainly my mother, whenever she sees a leopard, she says, "Ooh, that's just like my kitty." It's obviously a lot bigger and more terrifying, although her cat is terrifying. I'd say a leopard is much more like the domestic cat than any other cat. Thanks, guys, for that. All the way in Johannesburg. I'm just getting a message here from Michaela Keddy. And we had that sighting just now, the impala, and I said that I'd never been charged by an impala. And here's Michaela saying that she was charged by a male impala at Mfolozi Game Reserve at a picnic spot. And all she did was get out of the car. Shame, Michaela. I'm sorry about that. That's a horrible experience. All right, let's have that question from India again. I'm sorry I missed it. Nikki, you're an Indian wondering if the lions have any weak senses. So of the 5 senses, are any of them weak? So touch, taste, smell, hearing, and sight. Mickey, I think you'll find that their taste buds are really nothing like as sensitive as yours. They don't have nearly as many as human beings have. And, living in India, of the immense number of amazing flavors that your food specifically from that country has. A lion would never be able to pick up all the different complexities of the beautiful food that comes out of India. So that would be a weak one. And then we as human beings are quite sensitive to touch. We feel pain I think a lot more easily than the animals that live out here do. And so I'd say probably touch and taste. They'd be much less, I don't want to say adept at, so I'm not going to say they're worse than us at, but I think that we are more sensitive touch-wise and taste-wise than any of the lions. That's a really nice question. I've never had that question before. It's a really good one. Thank you. Right. We are now going to move the show into the regular show. In other words, kids, you can keep still asking questions, of course, but the rest of you can begin asking questions or cease pretending to be children at this stage and send your questions to #WildEarth on Twitter. Otherwise, you can send them on the chat stream on YouTube or on Twitch. Mohawk is being most cooperative at this stage. One doesn't expect this of a lion here. It is a slightly unfortunate name, I feel, because, well, Mohawk is hardly a name, but he really does have a distinctive lack of mane on either side of the spiky bit in the middle. And it'll be interesting to know if that ever results in his being disadvantaged in the mating game. He's now displaying himself. I wouldn't describe that as his best angle. Stunning. Alrighty, let's go back to Lauren now. She's managed to find some swimming elephants. I'm just going to see if I can find the rest of the pride.
Good luck, James. I'm sure the lions are sleeping somewhere in the bushes. We have elephants. We have the culprits behind that big piece of dung. Well, we don't actually know if it was these elephants, but we do have elephants. And of course, water bodies are the exact place you want to check on hot days like this for elephants. Now, they are walking across to the other side, but we'll try and keep up with them if they move. One more time with that name, Natalie. Johan, you're 8 years old in the USA, and you're asking, what does elephant dung smell like? What does elephant dung smell like? It smells like dung. Have you ever smelled dung before? Possibly from a cow, or maybe even a horse. It's got a very earthy smell, and it smells like exactly what it is, and that is dried out plant matter. It's got a very sort of planty earth smell with a hint of, I don't know how to say this actually, with a fecal hint, shall we say. You can smell that it has came out someone's bottom. That's the best way I can put that for you, Johan. But essentially, it's got a very earthy smell, and I think it's quite pleasant. I know that sounds really strange, but it's really, really not an unpleasant smell at all. It's quite a pleasant smell. And of course, I love the smells that come with elephants. I love the smell of their dung. I also love the smell of them when they walk past you. And I really, really love the smell of bulls and must. That's a lovely smell when you find a big, big bull and he's going through some hormonal changes and he's in must.
Now, I'm sorry about that technical glitch. I'm also sorry that I have told you a foul and contemptible untruth. As you can see, this male's mane is much more mohawkish than the other one. The other one is in fact Blondie of the Evoker Coalition. This is the second male, and this is Mohawk. I haven't seen them for so long that my ability to recognize them has been compromised somewhat. Here he comes. And there he goes. Now this is generally what you'd expect from a lion in the heat of the day, and what you can see there also is the horns of the wildebeest. So this is the animal that they killed last night, and they've probably all eaten so much during the course of the day that they really are too full to do anything. We found another 2 females as well. They're just behind us. Yeah, you can see he's got very mohawky, but that mohawk mane has got a lot darker since I last saw it. And for those of you who are interested, that generally means a greater amount of testosterone, which should, in theory, mean a greater chance to mate, but his mane is scraggly. None of these males have got big, bold manes, and that's because I suppose they're relatively young. You'd expect that in the next 2 years or so, they'd develop the full manes. Their manes never really stop growing until they start to lose condition. Krista in Illinois, male lions don't really go finding females at all, interestingly. What they do is they will, let me give you their life history, basically, from the time they leave the pride. Around about aged 3, they get tossed out of the pride by the pride, not the pride males, by the territorial males of the area, one of whom will almost certainly be their father. Then they go off and they spend a nomadic time on their own, and eventually instinct kicks in for them to try and stake out a territory. Now, that will involve them either, like these guys, coming into an area where there's a vacuum of male lions, or fighting off an aging coalition of male lions in a particular area. By default, therefore, they will assume the proprietary of the females of the area, so that whatever prides there are in that area will become theirs. I don't mean to use ownership is the wrong kind of way to think about it, but they will come to dominate the territory in which those prides live, and by default, therefore, when the females come into estrus, they will mate with them. But I think that the taking of the territory and then the assumption of dominance over the prides is separate almost to their desire to find females. I don't think that's what it is. I think it's the desire to set up a territory, and then when the females come into estrus, obviously, that's when the mating takes place. All right, I'm going to move from here because this is not a great view, and we can get a nice view of the females just behind us. Just going to flick around like so. And there are another 2 vehicles in the sighting, which is perfectly okay, obviously. And there we have the 2 females of the Nkuhuma Pride, our very famous Djuma Nkuhuma Pride. We'll sit with them for a while. You're going to go across to Sean. He's managed to find even more lions at Ngala.
Okay, so what we've done, we've moved now closer to the river. We've moved down the bank where I told you the lions were, so there you can see the lions. So I've just got an update from the other rangers that there's only 1 female there, and then all of the cubs. And now you can see, if Marcel pans to our left here, here's the herd of buffalo. So they are right here. It's literally just the river separating them. You can see this buffalo is smelling. She's getting a bit suspicious. There might be something around. But what they've said to me is that when they got here, these other rangers, all the lions were on this bank where we are now. And then slowly they went across. So now the ones that you just saw, we're missing 3 females and the 2 big males. So if they all came from this bank that we're sitting on, they could still be here in this grass. And now they could be looking to hunt. Maybe those ones, all the ones across the river, mainly cubs, all those young ones. And then there are actually 2 females there, I'm mistaken. There are 2 females there. And then all the rest are up on this bank still, we think. So we're going to sit here and we're going to watch. You can see these buffaloes, they're suspicious. This one here, she's watching, she's smelling. She can most likely see the lion. Well, I don't think so. So we got a question from James B asking if lions see in color. Now, James, they do see in color. They see in a variety of color, but not as diverse as we do. So lions see more in sort of shades of greens and grays, more sort of night vision based colors. You know, so they can see in color, but like now, you know, I can see, or you can see in the camera, you can see greens, you can see whites and browns and light browns and dark browns and all the different shades. So the lions don't see in that sort of variety of color. So in your eyes, you have rods and you have cones. Now one processes light, and the other one processes color. I don't know which one does which. I should know, but I forgot. The lions have more of the light processing ones. That's why their night vision is so good. They can receive a lot of light, make use of a lot of dim light, where color is not too necessary for the lions. They don't need to see in color. It doesn't matter if the buffalo is red, yellow, pink, or blue, as long as it's edible. Color doesn't really matter. They're more looking to see in low light conditions. They're looking to detect movement. That's how they hunt. So those ones, of course, they are sleeping, lying down. There's a little bit of grooming. You can see the ones on the left are just grooming. But now these buffaloes are the ones that we want to watch. I don't think they've actually seen these lions yet. You can have a look at them. They're looking in the right direction. They're suspicious, but because of this bank, I don't think they can actually see the lions. This one's coming closer. They might be able to smell them. And they're like, where are you? We can smell you, but we can't see you. The bank in front of this buffalo is quite steep. But they're looking. There's a lot of young ones in this herd as well, a lot of calves. On our way to the bank here, we drove around the herd. And as we were coming around the back of it, there are lots of little ones. We got our first question from France, from 7-year-old Camille, wanting to know if the lions can hear us. So Camille, they can definitely hear us from here. Our lions have a very good sense of hearing, especially where we are now. We're in the open. The lions are also in the open. There's nothing obstructing my voice from traveling to the lions. So they can definitely hear us. They know we're here. They know the buffaloes are here. They're very aware of what's happening around them. It is, their ability to hear things, as we were discussing this morning. I don't know if you were watching this morning, but the lions, they can hear each other from kilometers and kilometers away. So they've got very good hearing. And I have a rather loud voice, I'm told, so they can definitely hear me. They don't care that I'm talking. They're not even looking in this direction. But they know. They know. They'll look at me, they'll say, okay, he's over there, it's him, doesn't matter, let's go back to sleep. Because that's the thing, although they're the king of the bush, the herd of buffalo can be quite dangerous for lions. They could be quite dangerous to lions. They can actually kill these cubs. So the pride's got to be very careful. But when we watch out, we're going to see what happens, see what develops. We'll keep you updated. In the meantime, sounds like Lauren has found the herd of elephants.
I did have my elephants. Just bear with us. Are you okay? Oh, spiderweb. Oh, I don't like spiderwebs. Okay, bear with us. We're just rounding the corner. There we go. Okay, we've got a mother and young. See that? It's a very young one there. The herd is moving quite fast through the block here. That youngster was so sweet. That's very young. Really won't stray too far from Mum. Can you hear them feeding? And I think, Owen, if we just go a little bit further forward, we'll get a better view. I'm just going to slowly move to the side of them. Here we go. We've got a fork-tailed drongo up there as well. We've got a bird that I love to call the eyes of the bush. You see that fork-tailed drongo there, Owen? Just above the birds on that branch. You see it? sitting on the branch, just above the elephants, sorry. There we go. Fork-tailed drongo. Look at that forked tail. And you know what they do? They generally follow large animals just like your elephants here, because the elephants indirectly stir up these sort of grounds below them, and this helps disturb insects. So they follow the herbivores, not just elephants, but some antelopes, buffalo, zebra, and what they're hoping for is all the insects will get disturbed from the ground because of these big mammals, and then the fork-tailed drongo can swoop in and eat the insects. It's very smart. So they're always around. No matter where you turn, you will find fork-tailed drongos. Hello, little one. Just watch them feeding. Oh, I love it when the young ones take little tantrums. I think we may have lost our last visual of them. I don't want to go too deep in the block for elephants, but I do have something that I'd like to show you, something that I did prepare earlier. Let me just find it first. It's somewhere in my box. Owen's giving you another gorgeous view of the fork-tailed drongo. Oh my goodness, Lauren, what have you done with it? Here we go. So we actually have an elephant's tooth here, and this helps describe exactly how they eat. So you're watching them feeding on a daily basis, and this is a tooth that belongs to an elephant. And essentially, it's a sort of rectangular block. You can see this is it from the side, and this is it from the top. Now, these are the molars, and elephants only have 6 sets of molars in their entire lifetime. And as soon as the molars are worn down, then the next one pops up. And then as soon as that one sort of wears down, the next one pops up. And Owen, if we can just take a closer look here, you can see the ridges. Now, these ridges are called transverse ridges, and they're really only present in the African elephant. Essentially, the Asian elephants don't have ridges like this, and it's very rough to touch. And this is what helps the elephant sort of chew branches and sticks and shrubberies. And each set of molar comes in at different times. So molar 1 set comes in at 1 year. Molar 2 comes in at 2 years. Molar 3 comes in at 6 years. Molar 4 comes in at 15 years. Molar 5 is 28, and molar 6 is around 47 years old. I don't think, if I'm going to guess, I think this is molar 3 or 4. And don't worry, no elephant was harmed in this. It was a carcass that we found, and we got permission to keep this tooth for educational purposes in our tent. So we still keep it, even though we don't have the tent. And this is the molars of the elephants, and that's how they chew. That's how they break down their food. Even if it's soft vegetation or if it's hard, crunchy branches, they use their molars. They start at the back of the jaw, and then they move forward like a conveyor belt, and eventually they wear down and they fall out, and then the next one comes through. And essentially that's what causes the death of an elephant. Once that last molar has worn down, that's what will cause the inevitable death of an elephant, because they can no longer chew their food, I'm afraid. So if the last molar comes in at around 47 years old, then normally it's between the age of 60 or 70 that they have until that last molar wears down. But it does depend on diet. So elephants in the Mara, Masai Mara, where we used to broadcast from, are said to live slightly longer than the elephants here in Djuma, and it's all to do with diet, of course. So we're going to let these elephants be, I'm afraid. I don't want to follow them any further into this block. Are you okay, Owen? Let's see. Big thorny tree here that I'm trying to navigate and not kill my cameraman. Okay. There we go. Yep. Sorry, guys. I'm just trying to navigate out of this very thick block. You all good, Owen? Okay, as I try to navigate out of here and get back onto a main road, we are going to send you back across to James with the Nkuhumas.
Yes, we've got the lions. They are now very sleepy on the road. As you can see, it doesn't look like they are in a rush to go anywhere particular. Their killer's nearby. It's a little bit like lying on the sofa, knowing that you've got leftovers for supper and therefore not worrying to go out or think about cooking. And then obviously they're on a road, which is our southern boundary, so please excuse the infrastructure. And the other one has got a very pretty flower behind it that David spotted. It is, of course, the wild basil, Syncolostinum bracteosus. Would you like to try and say that, David? It's quite nice to say. Try it. It'll relieve tension in your body. Syncolostinum bracteosus. Doesn't that make you feel good?
It's pretty good.
It's a little bit like that grass species. Remember it?
Of course.
What is it? Tragus berteronianus. Critical cut. That's an interesting question that is totally and utterly impossible to answer, but I like it because it's interesting for those who perhaps did know that lion. The great black mane, I think you called him. So, I'm assuming we're talking about the same lion here. There was a lion once in this area known as the black mane, which was deeply of a, very sort of emotive name. And the black mane was a lion that lived at Londolozi down on the Sand River. And he was the most terrifying lion anybody had ever seen because he never seemed to habituate to vehicles. And he maintained a large territory on his own without a coalition for many, many, many years. And he was something of a legend, and I don't know, many of you are South Africans watching, and some of you internationals might even know this, but there's a chap called Ian Thomas, who has... Sorry, David, I'm about to drop my camera out the car. I will turn around, I promise. There's a chap called Ian Thomas in South Africa who does a talk on lions and their social structure and their application to business and management and that sort of thing. And he spent a lot of time tracking that big black-maned lion on foot, and he tells the most wonderful stories. And his reminiscences of tracking that terrifying lion are just fantastic. So that's the black mane I think you're talking about. It's impossible to say whether any of these are his descendants or not. I don't think any genetics were ever done on him. It's so long ago now in terms of lion generations. That was sort of the late 70s, early 80s, I think. Maybe mid-80s. And, 35 odd years to figure out the lion genetics of the area. No, I don't know. It's almost certain that some of the lions here are in some way related to the great black mane, but I don't know if that's true or not. He really was a lion of legend. It's difficult to see Mohawk achieving the same. Maybe he will. I've always described the Avoca males as the sort of hipsters of the lion world. They came into the area, mooched in, didn't fight, weren't violent at all. They kind of took over because it was cool. You know, no one was here, so they stayed, hung around, met up with the girls, and kind of hung around with the girls for a while. There was no aggression, no cubs to kill. They chilled for a while with the lionesses, and then, yeah, well, you know, eventually we had some cubs. Oh, it's been a nice time, you know. That's kind of their vibe. Whereas their predecessors, the Birmingham boys, came in like a great big gang of terror, sending the two resident males scattering down to the south. And what else happened with them? They killed cubs, yeah. And then the actual process of eventually mating with the females was a painful one because they were so aggressive. Alrighty, let's go back across to Ngala and see what the Birmingham Pride is doing. I shall remain here with the two Nkuhuma ladies.
Okay, so we had a bit of a development. So the buffaloes chased, not this male, just back a little bit back behind us, there is two females. And we heard a little commotion, and then we saw these two females running out of the bush. And as we drove around to get there, we saw that there was the buffalo and then obviously these lions. So it didn't look like they were doing anything. And as we came around, we saw this one male. Then while we've been sitting here, so the buffalo herd is off to our left. You can't see them at the moment. They're in some trees. We heard a bit of a confrontation. It sounded like the male, his brother, gave a bit of a, like the buffalo saw him, he growled, they snorted, they went, but we can't find him. So what we're going to do, we're going to spend just another minute here. I just want to see if this male does anything. He was looking, when he heard that commotion, he looked up like he was looking for his brother. But I can't see him coming out anywhere. So I just want to sit here for a minute, see if this male lifts up his head, see if he gives us any clue as to where his brother could be. As I was saying earlier, you know, the sense of hearing is very good, so is their sight and their smell. So he could see, hear, smell his brother before we did. And if he lifts up his head and looks, could give us an indication of where we're needing to go. It looks like he is just going to be sleeping in that bush. You can still see for now his stomach is very full. They're still very, very full from the last buffalo they ate. That's why I don't think there's too much enthusiasm with this herd. Although they might just follow them tonight, follow them tomorrow until they get hungry again. At least they can keep tabs on this herd. Which is what we are going to do. Because he looks like he's sleeping. So I think what we're going to do, see if we can find that herd again. As I said, they're just off to our left here inside the trees. And maybe we'll even come across his brother inside here somewhere. So the brother is the one, if you were tuned in this morning, the brother is the one that chased the young male. So the meaner of these two is the one that's inside here somewhere. So now we're going to see. So where we heard the noise coming from was just over here. Sounded like inside these trees off to our left. But as I said, we did pop in here. We did try and have a look. We couldn't find anything. But lions, especially one male in an area like this, he is scared of the buffaloes. He will actually move away from the buffaloes. I've seen pictures of buffaloes that have chased lions up a tree. That's what I was hoping for. That would have been very special if we saw this male up in a tree. Serves him right. But unlucky, never happened. So I think he might have just moved into one of these thicker areas. To our right, left, straight behind us, they're everywhere. We got a question from Gianna, who's 8 years old, living in Mumbai. She wants to know, do lions attack when they're this lazy? Generally, if it's an easy opportunity, the lions will take it. So if the buffalo had to walk right past the whole pride of lions, then yes, the lions would take it. But you saw like that, those females were lying there, the male was lying there, the buffaloes were maybe 30, 40 meters away. And the lions did nothing. They just lay there. So they are just lazy at the moment. There's no immediate need for them to hunt, to expend their energy to go after the buffaloes. Is just it's unnecessary at the moment. So at the moment, no, they will not be aggressive. Oh, look at this big male buffalo there in the road. That dark one, that black one, as a male. Look at his horns on the top of his head. We were saying they fight with their horns. It's a lot more dense, a lot thicker. We got a question from Tammy, back in my hometown, in Cape Town. Tammy wants to know, do buffaloes alarm call? So Tammy, if the buffaloes saw the lions, like they did, they will snort. Not really, I suppose it's really an alarm call. They will snort, they will make some grunting noises, and they will chase the lions. They will actually, if there's enough of the buffaloes, they will run at the lions. So yes, I would say they do alarm call. Not exactly like a impala or a kudu. That will snort, 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 snort. The buffaloes will snort a few times, form up, and then decide what to do. We're going to go forward. You can see there's a young one in the road up ahead there. I want to see if you can see just off to our left here. There's a number of little babies. What we don't want to do is chase them. You saw the ones down the road. As we were getting a bit closer, they were moving off quite quickly. So we're going to stop here. Have a look at all of these ones on the left. And if you've noticed, those who were listening and can distinguish male from female, majority of this herd is females. We've seen a lot of females. All these ones looking at us now are females. We saw that one male that crossed in front of us. But everyone's female. There's a little baby on the right-hand side of the screen. You can see a little bit smaller, browner. And there comes an older one. Now it's amazing. Both of these calves, although quite a few years apart, well, not years, quite a few months apart, are from the same sort of season. You see how nervous these buffaloes are. Partly because of us, but mainly because of the lions. See that one had, oh, look at the little baby coming there. That's a tiny one. That's a that one was born very late in the season. Now, all three of those that just ran there were all calves. Some of them closer on a year, some of them like a month. We got a question from France again, 12-year-old Satine. She was asking if a nervous buffalo had to bump the car, would the car flip over? I said, no, the car won't flip over. The car's very heavy, very squat, very low. So the buffalo would rock the car for sure. If it ran straight into the car, it would rock the car. The car would probably slide a bit, maybe even lift up just a couple centimeters on one side. But no, the buffalo can't flip the car. Although we would never let that happen. We would never let the buffalo come that close. You know, if, let's say the lions chased them and the buffalo started stampeding away, we would already have moved out of the way that the buffaloes were going to run. We would have seen, okay, this is where they're going to exit because it's open. We're going to go the other way and just avoid that. But no, even if they did hit the car, they could not flip us over. They're just too low. They are very strong and it would damage the car and I would probably fall out because I don't have a door. But the car wouldn't flip over, luckily. Luckily. But I think it was an intense sort of, 40 minutes? But now these buffaloes have moved off, the lions are still sleeping, so we are going to carry on, see what else we can find. In the meantime, I'm going to send you back to James with the Nkahuma lionesses.
We have been having a good laugh, David and I, because of the fate of the hooded vulture. Now, I've seen one, and I think we can actually get a picture, David. Give me 1 second, and I shall maneuver the vehicle so that you can get a picture. There's one in a tree just up ahead. I'm just going to shift maybe a foot forward. Can you see him there? He's in the top of that cluster leaf. You got him? forward. There he is, just behind that stick. There we are. Now, that is the hooded vulture, everybody, and a more blighted creature one would struggle to find. For the fate of the hooded vulture is to eat the scat of a lion, and the scat of a lion is, in my opinion, quite possibly the foulest substance on planet Earth. And so, to have been born a hooded vulture and to have to eat the scat of a lion means that if reincarnation is in fact something that happens, you've done something tremendously evil to have been born a hooded vulture. And we were talking about this, and then we thought to ourselves, but you know, there's one worse than that. Imagine being the organism that has to eat the guano of the hooded vulture. If you're the organism that has to eat the guano of the hooded vulture, then you have been an uber criminal in a previous life. I mean, we're talking Genghis Khan level nastiness there. Joseph Stalin is quite possibly the organism that eats the guano of the hooded vulture, which has to eat the scat of the lion. I have never seen the guano of a hooded vulture, and I'm very pleased, because if I had, I suspect if you touch it, you probably die immediately. Kinnicky, aged 15, that's a really nice question, and in fact, it's a common misconception, and one that I read about when I was in the Kalahari recently, and you said, are the Kalahari lions bigger than these lions? And they're not actually. They're actually the same size. And I was reading a wonderful book by Gus and Margie Mills, Gus is one of South Africa's premier mammal experts, and they spoke about, it's a beautiful book, I've forgotten its title, but it's a beautiful field guide to going to the Kalahari. And they spoke about how this misconception, or there is this misconception that Kalahari lions are bigger than Kruger lions or any other lions. And they reckoned it was just a case of perspective because of the habitat they live in, the bushes they walk past, the dunes that they walk on. They just seem so much bigger, but in actual fact they're not. They're pretty much the same size as the lions here. That's a really nice question. Thanks for that. Hooded vulture's moment of fame is over. Ruby, guano is the poop of a bird. We refer to as guano. Not sure why we refer to it as guano. I think it's probably not a scientific thing. It's just an English thing. So guano is the poop of a bird. So you'll talk about chicken guano, which is a really good fertilizer. My mother used to get loads of chicken guano that would stink up the garden in the weeks preceding summer. I think she put it on her roses. And so it's obviously very fertile. Scat is the poop of a predator, normally a cat. So we talk about scat. Dung is normally the poop of a herbivore. We could go on with a number of different words that describe the waste products of animals, but we won't do that because, well, who wants to discuss that? Let's take a look at the foot, because quite often we wonder about tracks, and we've spoken a lot about tracking of late. And let's have a look, therefore, at the footprint of the lion. Now, I said this to somebody this morning, but if you've got a house cat, I would like you to grab that house cat now in a gentle way, not in a rough way, unless, of course, it's a vicious house cat like my mother's, in which case leave it alone. But if it isn't, pick it up, turn it over, and examine its paw. And you will see that the design of the paw is almost identical. And I always find that amazing. And just about all of the cats have got a very similar design to the paw. Your cat's track, however, would fit twice into one of the toes of that lioness, unless you've got some kind of massively overweight house cat. But it is interesting how similarly shaped they all are. So lions, leopards, tigers. I remember seeing a tiger track for the first time in India and thinking, wow, that just looks like a massive lion track, which in turn looks like a big leopard track, which in turn looks like a big caracal track, which in turn looks like a big serval track, which in turn looks like a big African wildcat track, which in turn looks exactly like your house cat's track. There are subtle differences in shape, which the experts would be able to pick up, such as the slightly more kidney-shaped top toe that you can see there, the inside toe. But other than that, very similar. I always think that's quite fun. Dungeon Girl lions can exhibit what we call cannibalism, yes. Not normally with, members of a pride, but I've seen at andBeyond and Ngala, interestingly, there was a coalition of males there, and one of them, who we called Bob for some reason I cannot remember, had a dreadful limp in his back leg, and his back leg withered away, and eventually he died, and his brothers ate him, which, it sounds gross and it sounds unpleasant, but I guess, there was no waste. There was no waste of nutrients. So a lot of carnivores do eat each other. Leopards eat other carnivores a lot. Tingana, the male leopard, who we've spoken of often, has twice been seen killing and eating female leopards, which seems extremely counterintuitive, but probably various complicated reasons for why he did that. So yeah, some of the predators do exhibit cannibalism. Lions, I don't think a huge amount. I don't know about hyenas either. And we did see that in the Mara, didn't we? Yeah, David just reminding us that, we spent a lot of time in the Mara. Were you with Jamie when you saw that?
I don't remember who it was. I think it was Brent.
Brent or Jamie, who were presenters here, very good guides, and they witnessed hyenas eating a dead hyena. So, yeah, it happens. Cannibalism. It's something that we as human beings, of course, recoil from. Bad luck, Louis de Lion. Your cat just bit you. I did warn you. I did say, if your cat tends to the violent, you should leave it alone. I'm not taking responsibility for that, Louis de Lion. I hope that your injury is not too severe and that you'll be able to stem the blood flow with a thick bandage. If not, try a tourniquet somewhere around the upper arm. Otherwise, seek medical attention. Now that cat is fast asleep, but what is interesting there is the nose, which has very clearly been scarred quite severely by many fights over food, and that'll have been from her pride mates. So lions are deeply affectionate with each other until it comes to food. It's a little bit like the WildEarth crew. We're a very strong, closely knit crew until we get to the supper table, and then fists fly. And then we're all friends again afterwards. It's exactly like these lions. Now that sound you can hear is a whole lot of, or two, lilac-breasted rollers who are having a territorial dispute. Righty, let's just go across to Lauren. She has managed to find herself a reptile.
We have a monitor. I think it's a water monitor. Hello. He thinks that we can't see him, but we can. We can see you, yes. Isn't he gorgeous? Look at the scales. Good job, Owen. Look at the fine detail of that, the reptilian scales. Now he's trying to maintain camouflage. He's trying to be still. They can be very flighty. If I make a sudden movement, they can actually run, and we don't want that. So it's not the best angle. Wow. Has his tail curled back up on himself? Oh, there's the edge of our car. That's how close he is to his car. And you see that ridge going all the way down the body. Now, we get rock monitors out here, but we also get water monitors. And I'm going to guess this one is a water monitor.
East, do you copy?
Spending all his time around the water body. Hunting. They're ferocious predators. Ferocious. Now, if you are enjoying our safari these days, please do head over to our website, wildearth.tv/support. And there is a page where, if you wish, you can support us. You can help keep our safaris running. All the information will be on the website, and I'm sure it's going to pop up on your screen soon. So do check it out. And if you wish to support, you absolutely can. This monitor is making me laugh. He definitely thinks we can't see him. Now, of course, summer's the perfect time for reptiles to be out and about. They thrive on the humid, the moisture, the heat. They're solar powered. I'm just peering over the edge of the car to have a good look at him. So from what Owen actually showed you of the tail, I must tell you it extends quite far back, but we just can't see it because of the edge of our vehicle, but it's a very long tail. And because water monitors spend so much time near the water, the tail acts as a rudder, and it sort of helps them. They're able to move it from side to side, almost like a snake, and they're able to power themselves through any sort of liquid medium, i.e. water bodies. But their feet will actually have very, very sharp claws, and this is what gives them traction on land, because they also walk on land. So they need both a powerful tail and sharp claws, just like crocodiles really, so that they can survive in both sort of terrestrial and aquatic mediums. Jane, this one I would say probably from the very end of his snout to the tip of his tail, which we're not able to show you, I would say 1 meter, 3 feet. He's long, but obviously half of that, or approaching half of that, is made up of the tail. He's a big boy. I would say pushing 1 meter. Very, very long animals. And of course, if he was just to slink off into the grass here, we would lose sight of him. He would blend in completely to the vegetation. Got really, really flexible, powerful necks as well. So when they are executing a hunt, they can swing their neck from side to side. They're very powerful animals with muscular bodies. And they use their tail not just as a rudder, but to also thrash out against threats. So they are actually able to thrash their tails so fast that they can whip any sort of threat in the face, and that would be very, very sore. I can only imagine. It's a very thick, strong tail, and with the rapid movement, I think that could easily deter any predator who was trying to attack them. They also have a very strong bite, so if something's going to attack them, they can latch on with a really, really strong bite and not let go. Their jaws are powerful. They're very equipped for A, hunting, and B, escaping any sort of threat coming their way. Now, there's a thing in the animal kingdom called thanatosis, and what this essentially means is death fining. So there's many animals, especially reptiles, it's very prevalent through the sort of reptilian group of animals, where they fake death. Geckos, lizards do it. And if there's a threat, and they're maybe not exactly sure, maybe they can't fend it off with their jaws or their tail, some of them just pretend to be dead. They either turn onto their back and lie there, completely motionless, or they will just stay in an upright position, completely motionless, pretend to be dead and hope that the predator will just walk away or not see them. And monitor lizards are known to do this. And it's basically faking death, essentially, but in science we call that thanatosis. And it's not just reptiles. We've seen dwarf mongoose do it, whether it's essentially to escape threat or whether it is for fun. We're not sure, because they were doing it with hornbills, so I imagine it could have been fun. But there's lots of animals in the animal kingdom that show signs of thanatosis. When threat is approaching, they just pretend to be dead. It's always worth looking for these creatures when you come to the water bodies. I think they're always present. We just don't always get the chance to see them. And another way to escape predators, I'm on the topic, I may as well just finish it. They have many ways that I've already gone through on how they can escape predators. But if they're actually gripped behind their heads, they're sort of rendered motionless. They can't do the neck swinging, they can't use their mouth, their tail probably won't be much use. So what they are known to do is eject the contents of their rectal opening. Yes. And then when they release it, it actually gives the predator that's preying on them a fright, because they've released something from their body. And then essentially during this moment where the predator is just momentarily preoccupied by looking at the contents from the rectal opening, they then make their escape and they run for it. And it's said within, especially water monitors, it's actually said to be very, very useful, because that split second that you can distract the predator that's after you, you can make an escape and dive straight into the water. So for water monitors, it's especially successful. Sounds very bizarre, I know. Hello, handsome. You're quite the expert at escaping predators, aren't you? Flighterella, water monitors and rock monitors are different. Now, essentially, the water monitors are smaller. They're still large animals, but they're definitely smaller than the rock monitor. He's checking us out. Hi there. He's moving very, very slowly. He's convinced we don't see him. So yeah, the water monitors are much smaller, and they actually have different colorations of the scales. So possibly if you were to see them separately, you might get a little bit confused, because they are similar, but they're different once you see them together. They have a completely different shaped snout. Now, I want to show you a picture, but I also don't want to take away from this beautiful visual that we're looking at right now. Should we do it quickly, Owen? I think a picture would definitely explain what I'm trying to say here. Okay. I'm ready with my book here. I think that would help. If we can just quickly go into this picture here. I'll move my head. This is the water monitor. This is what we're looking at right now. And if you just quickly note the coloration on the scales and the shape of the snout, it's very slender and it goes out to a point. Now, if we quickly just zoom in on this one, Owen, this is a rock monitor. Take note of the coloration and the pattern, and essentially the biggest thing to look at is the shape of the snout. It's very square, very blocky, and completely different from the water monitor. So there's a few things you can look at to tell the sort of difference in the sizes between the two, but this one is the smaller of the two. Yes, he's still there. I love reptiles. I absolutely love them. I find them completely fascinating animals. Steph, I think that's the name. You're asking what are the main reptiles we get here. Oh, we get a lot of reptiles. We just don't always see them. And we get monitors, both the rock and the water monitors. We get crocodiles. one of the dams we have near here called Chitwa Dam that we're not able to visit right now due to lockdown rules, but we will when all that clears. We have lots of crocodiles there. We have a huge diverse range of snakes. We just don't get to see them. From black mambas to boomslangs to your average sort of sand snake, we get a lot of snakes out here. A huge range of lizards, not just the monitor lizards, but your smaller lizards as well. Geckos, we get lots of geckos, especially the house ones that tend to live in my room. Terrapins, tortoises. The main tortoises are your leopard tortoise and your speaks-hinged tortoise. We also get triagamas. They are my favorite when we do see one, especially the male. And of course, I'm sure many of you know we get chameleons, the flap-neck chameleon out here. That's a winner when you're able to spot a chameleon. So we actually get a lot of reptiles. They're just not so easy to see. They're sort of elusive, if you like. But summer really is the time for reptiles, and it's still summer. It's transitioning, but it's definitely still summer. Okay, we're going to let our little water monitor lizard go about his day, see what else we can find for you. And while we do that, we are going to send you across to James and his lions.
The two lionesses have done, well, nothing since last I saw you. And reports are that the male that we saw first is fast asleep, but he is rolling around a bit, so we'll probably head over there. He's exactly, I don't know, what would you say, David? 25 meters from where we are now? 30? That is a long distance. Let's go there anyway. I'm not going to hit the car behind us, am I? We're all right. Let's go and see what our male lion Blondie is doing. Perhaps he will lift his face to the setting sun and provide us with a photographic opportunity. Oh, very nice comment from... I forget the name. 1 second, 1 second, 1 moment, 1 moment. It will come to me. Don't ever drive and be on your phone. It's a very bad example I'm setting. John Cosby, who says the word guano comes from the, I'm going to get this wrong, Quechua, the language spoken by the Inca Empire, who taught the Spaniards about fertilizing plants with bat poo. Oh, there we go. Look, David, there's a lion, a makulu one. Blondie is being very cooperative. His hair ain't so blonde no more. He should probably be known as Reddy, as in red, not ready. Know what I mean? That's really cool. Be quite nice to get his reflection in the water, but there's a bush in the way, I'm afraid. Luna, there's a little bit of debate, but in general, yes. The colour of a lion's nose is a good indicator of his age. When they are completely black, they seem to be over 6 years old. I have seen 1 or 2 lions, not many, who have got noses that are, or retain some pink. Not young lions, relatively old lions who've got a little bit of pink on their schnozzes. But in general, by the time they're 6, they've gone completely black. And that's completely unlike leopards, for example. Leopards are not like that. Leopards' noses can often stay pink for life, or black for life. And there was a great little pair of male leopard cubs born at Londolozi, called the Mashaben males, or their mother was the Mashaben female, and one was called Pinky and the other was called Darky, not by official or unofficial channels, but that was the way you knew, because one of them had a pink nose and one of them had a dark nose. Oh, he's having a bit of a go at the flies, and you can still hear the rollers going crazy above him. I don't think they're alarming at him. I think they're having a territorial dispute. In fact, Dave, can you see them doing their acrobatics there? Yes, magnificent. Now, this is why they're called rollers, of course. They should go up. Yep, there we go. Just doing it out of sight, but they do these magnificent acrobatic rolls and tumbles. And that's why they're called rollers. Thank you very much, John, for that information, by the way. It's so great learning from all of you. Yeah. John, at least I didn't get the name there, sorry about that, but it's one of the questions I was asking myself actually today. How is it that lions and other animals stay fit and strong enough to survive when they do as little as possible? Thank you, Liz. This is from you. I don't know. I suppose, unfit human beings, well, I do know. Human beings evolved to forage probably for 4 hours a day or so, and in so doing keep fit. They weren't designed by evolution for the sedentary lives that we lead, and so you'd expect a human being to do 4 or 5 hours of walking around, not strenuous physical exercise necessarily, but walking around and being on their feet for 4 or 5 hours. Now that's quite a long time, and we don't do that anymore, and so the result is that we get very unfit. These animals do exactly what they evolved to do, so they walk around, in the lion's case, probably 3 hours a day, if that, and then they do a bit of eating, and then they do a huge amount of sleeping. But that's what they evolved to do, and so their bodies and their life strategies are such that, they remain strong enough for the purposes that their bodies are strong enough for the purposes that they're designed to achieve. And the same goes for all of the animals out here. So they don't need to go and do exercise like we do. We need to go and force ourselves to do exercise because we just don't live physically like we evolved to. We didn't evolve to sit around, especially during these times of lockdown. We certainly didn't evolve to live in the confines of a flat or a small property. And I know of people going to extraordinary lengths to try and keep their fitness, riding, stationary bicycles, treadmills. And my brother has somehow managed to find a 5-kilometer route. I mean, it's not a route, it's just laps around his quarter-acre property in Johannesburg. But he's moved things around and moved flowers so that he can run laps around the property. And that's because, we're just not designed to be sitting on our backsides like we do for the amount of time that we do. And quite interestingly, I consider myself relatively fit. And I did but when I don't spend 4 hours a day on my feet, and I did a trail run in the mountains 2 years ago, and the distance wasn't huge, but the time it took was huge because, it was up and down the mountains. And I spent 4.5 hours on the first day on foot. And it was really difficult because of the time that I had to be on my feet. And so when you think about how many of us who consider ourselves relatively fit, we go off to gym or do some exercise for 40 minutes to an hour a day, even that, while it's high intensity, it's nothing like what we used to do, walking around for 3 or 4 hours on most days. But the animals out here do all of that every day. So they do exactly what they evolved to do, and that's how they stay strong and fit. Elise, that was a wonderful question. Thank you. And he's so tired now. He's yawning, wiping his face, and eventually I think he'll go back to the kill. Oh, now, Here we go. Cool. This chap's got black on his mouth for two reasons. One is that he's got black lips, so their skin is actually quite dark and black. The other is that that black stuff underneath his mouth for two reasons is muck from the kill. So he's been on a kill for most of the day, and that means that he's got a whole lot of blood and gore and muck on his face, and that's why he's got that there. So I'm not sure if you were talking about the lips or that muck. Oof, Sean has got something extremely exciting. Let's go back to Ngala right now.
Okay, so we are making our way very, very quickly, although we are obeying the speed limit, Brian, to a pack of wild dogs that they just found. So you can see the car. I don't know if you can see the car straight up ahead in the road. There's a car there. Anyway, they're following the wild dogs. Now they're heading straight towards us. And I believe it's the same pack that we've been seeing the last couple of days. You see wildebeest running across there, another one.
Yeah, with us, wildebeest are running.
Okay, so now we want to be looking. They're apparently on our left-hand side here somewhere. And they, as I said, they're coming towards us. So now me and Marcel are just looking. We're looking. To see exactly where. So now, as I said, so where they're going, east, which is back behind us, straight towards Kruger Park. Which is not too good because we can't go into Kruger Park. Okay, so apparently directly to our, there, wild dog. I can see one. Hey, friend, thanks. So that was found. If you saw that car down there, that was Jaafar and Nikki. There, you can see one wild dog in front of us. 2, 3, there's one on the right here. You can see them all moving through the grass. Yes, I don't know if you're noticing where we were coming from. Lots of impalas, lots of wildebeest. There was some zebras, even some kudu there. I don't know if these guys are hunting, if they're just moving, trying to find a new area. But what we're going to do, we're going to get in front, wait for them, let them come towards us. Now you can see the wildebeest just off there. But now the wildebeest are too big for the wild dogs. So we're going to sit here and we're going to see. Not sure exactly where they're going to, right in front of us. I duck my head. There, you can see one there. Beautiful. See what it did right there? It stopped just at the edge of the clearing. Oh, there's another one. There's another one much further back in the grass. Now we got a question all the way from the UK, from 7-year-old Makaya, wanting to know if the wild dogs bite humans. Okay, I have not personally heard of a situation where a wild dog has bitten a human. I also have not walked up to them to see if they bite me or not. I have heard of a story when one of the rangers was training here. We do some walking as part of our training, and while he was walking, a pack of wild dogs ran past him, and apparently they didn't even stop. They didn't even look at him. They were chasing impalas, and the impalas ran past the ranger, and the wild dogs just followed them. They didn't even stop. So my first thought would be no, they will not bite you. You know, especially a situation like this, where you can see they're all moving. You just see little ears popping out in the background there. Like down there, there's a whole lot of ears. They're not interested in us. If I had to get out the car now, they'd probably just keep running. I'm not going to do it. But that's what they're most likely to do. So now moving engineering now was shorter grass. Bit of a clearing coming up here. See the wildebeest moving away, not quickly, just slowly moving away. They know that the wild dogs won't actually try and hunt them. They know the wild dogs are just to look at all of them here off to the right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 of them moving through these clearings here. Just incredible. Now the fact that we know it's the same pack, firstly, there's 12. That's what we had the other day. And I'm going to move the car now, and you'll notice the one wild dog right at the front of the pack is the one with those floppy ears that we saw the other afternoon. So there was the one with floppy ears and one that's missing the white part of its tail. Now we're going to go over here. Oh, stunning. Okay, so we got a question from George asking what makes one of these dogs the alpha male. And George, they will fight. So all of the males here will fight. About 6 weeks ago, I was here and I was following this pack, and the males were fighting. The female was ready to mate. We saw some mating happening, and George, the males were fighting each other, and the winner was the one that mated. So we saw about 3 or 4 of them that actually got into physical conflict. There was blood everywhere, ears were being torn, and one male won, and he's the one that then mated with the female for the rest of that day, and I think the next 2 or 3 days at least. So George, they all fight. They all fight. Which is actually quite hard to watch. These are endangered animals, they're struggling as it is, and to see them fighting amongst themselves is it's hard. It's hard. And especially look at them, just incredible colors, patterns, some of them dark, some of them light, some of them white, brown. It's amazing. And to watch them like this in their habitat. Look at those ones on the right hand side there. Marcel's going to zoom in now. I mean, all of them just standing there. You see the floppy eared 1 second from the front, and they're looking, they're scanning, they're searching. This is what wild dogs do. Move through open areas. We got a question from Iveo, wanting to know if the wild dogs ever confront cats to steal their food. Iveo, yes, they will. Not lions, but leopards, cheetahs, 100%. They will often steal food from leopards if they come across them. If the leopard hasn't got the food up in the tree, then the wild dogs, for sure, they will try to steal. Lions, they can't. Lions are a bit too big. Lions also live in a pride. Like we saw, there's a large number of them. Where with the leopards, there's only one leopard, there's only one cheetah. Sometimes 2 or 3 cheetahs, but if you're fighting 12 dogs, you're not going to win. So, I don't know if Marcel can scan there. It's a hard view. They are through the trees. But where they're walking into is quite a thick area. You could just see a bit of movement there. But on the other side is a big clearing. So what we're going to do, we're going to race them. And we're going to loop around to the other clearing and wait for them on that side. See if we can catch them coming at us again. The sun will be behind them. So have a look here as we're driving around. Have a look at all of the plains game. Okay, while we try and find these dogs again, what we're going to do, send you across to James with his male lion.
Our male lion has got up and moved, and I will tell you that he has got a dreadful limp on his back left, and it's obviously fairly severe and fairly long standing, because you can see the muscles have withered on his hind quarters. Now, I was talking about that lion that we knew called Bob before, and that lion had exactly the same kind of an issue. And we, with our lack of knowledge back then, sort of put it down to bovine tuberculosis. I don't think that's what it was. I think it must have been some kind of injury sustained that has meant that he cannot or doesn't want to put any weight on it, and because he's not using the leg, the muscles are slowly starting to wither away. You find a lot of lions like this, and it often doesn't actually affect their ability to survive. And so, quite possibly, although he's got this horrible limp, he will lead a full life. And he's not doing his level best to show us his best angle. Hello, Joy. I don't think lions ever have sun problems or skin problems from the sun. Their skin is very rich in melanin. It's very dark underneath the fur there. And most of the animals here have got a lot of melanin in the skin because they live in a sunny environment. And it's only when animals don't have that melanin in the skin that they start to have issues. Ooh, Darth, look. There's the most blighted bird on planet Earth. There he is. Looking forward to your meal. Careful, looks like you've been on the sauce. Off he goes. You know where he's gone? He's gone to the waterhole where this lion was, and I guarantee you he's now having the world's second most disgusting supper. Another one's just flown over. They can't believe their luck. 2 piles of steaming scat for them to eat. How delicious. Let's go back to Sean, who's got something far more fantastic to show you.
Okay, so we made it around that thicket. Now you can see the dogs in the distance there. We don't want to move now. We got impalas off on our right. We got wildebeest off on our right. There's one impala on our left. Look at those dogs. Look at their ears. Look at the faces. They're all facing this way. This is the perfect place for them to hunt. It's flat. It's open. There is lots and lots of food around here. So we're going to sit. We're going to see which way they go. And once they start running, once they start chasing, that's when we're going to drive. Until then, we're going to sit here and we're going to watch. Looking at them, you can see they're looking here. Now, they're actually looking at a herd of wildebeest. Now, as I said earlier, they're not going to attack the wildebeest, but just on the other side are some impalas. It looks like none of them have seen the wild dogs yet. The wildebeest are all eating. The impalas are all eating. Everything has got its head down. Everything is not looking, which is fantastic. It's another reason why we're not turning on the car. We turn on the car, it causes animals to lift up, to look around. Oh, we got an interesting question from Kaya, wanting to know how wild dogs communicate when they hunt. Kaya, it's a bit, there's a hyena in the background there. You can see that other animal right at the back there is the hyena there. Wild dogs, when they hunt, it's all body language based. They just watch each other. They see that one's going that way. We're going to go this way. It's very social animals, just like the lions. So everything's body language based during the hunt. If you bark, if you whine, if you make a noise, your prey sees you and your prey runs. If you listen very carefully, hyena calling, not that one, a different one. I don't know if you can hear that, but quite far away, maybe where we found the wild dogs at the beginning, or even further back. That's where it sounds like the hyena's calling from. Now they will trail these wild dogs, like the one that we can see there. They will follow the wild dogs, because they know, they being the hyenas, that their best chance to scavenge is from wild dogs. Wild dogs have the highest success rate out of all of the predators. And that's why they're getting as interested as we are. We've got another question from my friend Sassy Cassie. Sassy Cassie wants to know, when was the last time these wild dogs made a huge kill? Now, Sassy Cassie, I haven't seen them eat in the last 4 sightings I've had with them. I haven't seen them eat. And those 4 sightings have probably been spread over 3 weeks, 4 weeks. So I can't tell you, Sassy Cassie. I don't know when they last ate. A big kill for them, these dogs, they're going after impalas. A big male impala is probably as big as they'll get in terms of their food. There's only 12 of them. So something like a kudu, a zebra, a wildebeest, all just too big. So impala is the biggest they'll go. And these guys must remember, Sassy Cassie, they're hunting twice a day. If they don't catch anything in the morning, they'll hunt again in the afternoon. So they're hunting twice a day. So I'd say they're probably catching food at least every second day. So what's the day? Tuesday. So maybe they didn't catch this morning. That's why they're probably looking to hunt now, because they were unsuccessful this morning. Got a question from KFC wanting to know if wild dogs are territorial or if they just keep moving. Now KFC, wild dogs, they move a lot and they move far, long distances. So they don't really have territories, they have a home range. So a massive area that they will stay within. They have certain boundaries, but it's much bigger than a territory. And it's not as sort of clearly patrolled or demarcated. Home range is just a very big area, and they will run around and stay in that sort of area. I'm not sure exactly how big that area is. It depends on the availability of land, of prey species, other packs of wild dogs. So they'll make their home ranges based around that.
I think in the Kruger ecosystem around 600 square kilometers.
Okay, so Marcel says he thinks in the Kruger area, the wild dogs, their home ranges will be about 600 hectares.
600 square kilometers.
600 square kilometers.
So that's about 60,000 hectares.
So yeah, roughly 60,000 hectares, KFC. So a big area. Now you can see if we scan to the left, other side of that bush, you can see some of the dogs coming out that side. Now the wildebeest have seen them. They are watching them. But as I said, the wildebeest are not running away, they're not doing anything, because they know the wild dogs are not going to hunt them. We actually see a slight change in behavior. Earlier we were talking about alarm calls when we were talking about the buffaloes. So now a lot of the time when these impalas and such see the wild dogs, they don't actually alarm call. Because by alarm calling, the impalas are bringing attention to themselves and the dogs will just chase them down. So often they will just see the wild dogs and then they just turn and they run. Oh, there goes a wildebeest. It looks like some of those dogs are actually lying down. So what we're going to do, we're going to go around, not too close to them. Just want to go around, see if we can get a better view. Oh, are they moving again? They're moving again. So look at that one. Look at his body posture. His head down, ears back. There's an impala behind us, which is now doing the exact opposite of what I told you and the alarm called. So they don't all know what's happening. You can see now they are very focused. They have seen the food, and I think they're going to hunt now. Okay, yeah, so you can see them. Look at all of them, the same posture, all heads down, all ears back, all of them going together. They have seen and they're going to run now. I'll give it another minute and these dogs are going to run. So we're going to get ready. When it does happen, we are going to chase. Or not chase, we're going to follow rather. We're going to follow them. See what they do. It will be a bit bumpy because we are going to be driving here. There are a few bumps, holes, logs, things like that I'm going to avoid, but the camera might be a bit shaky, but it will be well worth it. The impalas are not far. I can still see the impalas around us. And these wild dogs know they're running out of time. I don't know if you can see. Look. Oh, they're moving. There he goes. 1, 2, 3, 4, and they're gone. Okay, there you can see. Oh, look how fast they are. Incredibly quick animals. The impala's going off in front of us. There, wild dog's going there. Look, it's straight in front. You can see the impala's running very quickly. Looks like a wild dog. Oh, they're not going that way. Still chasing the herd of impalas in front of us. I don't know if you can see. Oh, there one goes right in front. Like the rest of the pack a bit further back here. It is incredible how quickly these guys go when they go. I mean, we're driving roughly 40 and they are just way past us, way ahead of us. The problem is where they're going, that tree line off in front of us, that is another reserve that we can't go into. We've got to see one turned around there. They've all spread out. There's some on our left. There's one on our right. Now that one there in front of us, they're chasing a baby impala. Which is a bit better for them. Just be aware if they do catch something, you know, they are going to eat it. There's going to be a lot of blood. There's going to be, you know, crunching, things like that. So if you don't like that, just be ready to look away. It looks like they went inside here. I don't want to drive in there. You can see it's quite thick. And see if we can get around That is not the thereon that I was hoping for. This is what makes the dogs so amazing, is they running and they're hunting and they're doing things, but it also makes them so hard to find and follow, because they're constantly running and hunting and doing things. I think they headed inside here. Oh, watch out the tree there. That is a branch. Now, as I said, we can't go too far inside here because it does become a different reserve. But let's see. I can't see any. Go through here. Can you see any, Marcel? You see here now the grasses become. You can smell them. You can smell them, so we are going the right way. And I can't hear any sort of fighting yet. Is that an impala there? There's an impala on our left that's looking fairly calm. And we got a question from Laksha asking, do wild dogs run as fast as hyenas? Now Laksha, they can run faster than hyenas. Wild dogs, when they're sprinting like we just saw them do now, they are going very, very, very fast. Probably close on 60, 65 kilometers an hour. Now, I'm not sure what the top speed of a hyena is, but I don't often see them keeping up with the wild dogs. Just like we are not doing at the moment. Oh, that's not sounding good. We're going to keep going through here. Now, this is where some of the other dogs went. There's another clearing just off to the right, so we want to have a look there. Just avoid some of these trees and see if we can find that portion. The ones that went down there, they crossed into that other reserve I told you about. So we're going to see maybe these ones had a bit more success. This is one of my favorite things in the bush, is following wild dogs. It is one of the hardest. Okay, so what we're doing, while we search and try to get out of this area, we're going to send you back to Djuma with James and the lions. Yeah, I think they went that way.
Our lions are starting to show a little bit of enthusiasm for life. When I say enthusiasm, I do mean that advisedly. They're not exactly leaping up, doing a pirouette, high-fiving and then going off to the carcass. Now, somebody just came past here who spent a lot of time at the carcass today, and what happened apparently is that the mohawk male, who's now monopolizing it, has not allowed anyone else to feed, which is not really nice of him. In fact, it might be considered very unnice. So I don't know if they're going to manage to feed, because if he doesn't want them to, I think they're going to struggle to get in there. Anyway, perchance they will be lucky, and perchance we will see it. Now, many of you have very kindly jumped on board with us. Many of you are making these safaris what they are, because without your questions and comments and general participation, obviously none of this means anything. And if you'd like us to keep going, and if you would like to support us, you can do so. Obviously the stream is entirely free, but if you'd like to support us, you can do so at wildearth.tv/support. That's wildearth.tv/support. I'm just trying to communicate with David. Unfortunately, I'm going to have to do it by talking loudly so you can hear it. David, can you hear that in your cans? Okay, never mind then. There's a little power line above our heads which takes electricity to the lodges around here, and it's going. And I needed to explain it if you could hear it, but apparently you can't. So I don't need to explain it, so I won't. Caitlin, these particular lions have got the eyes of creamed honey, the colour of creamed honey. Let's just listen. But some of them, one of them, this pride particularly, has got amber eyes, and her name is, David? Amber eyes, that's correct, well done. Now she's going towards the kill, and is not anymore. Now I think this other lioness, Darv, is probably going to go and drink at the pan. Let's attempt to get around, shall we? Yes. God. Those people in other vehicles are obviously enjoying lockdown thoroughly. A lot of the landowners of the Sabi Sands hide their way into the area as soon as lockdown was announced, so that they didn't have to spend it in cities. And, well, what a great idea. Ooh, here we go. It's going to be mating. Well, there could be mating. This sort of behaviour is normally the precursor to some sort of flirtatious interaction. Some site, Blondie doesn't look particularly enthralled by the idea. In fact, he looks positively bored by it. Let me just move forward because I think I'm blocking the view. Just going to go forward a little bit. Yes, Tlurini in India, aged just 8 years old, we've certainly come across lions killing things during the drives. Mainly buffalo, because buffalo are very strong and they take a long time to die. They die very brave deaths. And so when they are killed, quite often we have been there on time to watch it happen. It's quite difficult, you know. It's difficult to watch something die. And I tell you what, we also have watched it happen in the Masai Mara. We've watched lions killing wildebeest there, and it's not something that's easy to watch at all. Let's go across now to Sean. He's managed to catch up with the hyena, who in turn is following the dogs.
Okay, so we saw these two hyenas just sprinting off into the distance. Now we've been trying to follow them for a while. You see these wildebeest also looking quite nervous. There was also three giraffe that were running. So we just want to see where they go. But again, they all go in the wrong way. But it's always good following the hyenas. As we said, the hyenas often follow the wild dogs, especially if they caught something. So we're going to see if they will lead us to the pack. They can smell much better than us, the hyenas. Hear much better. Maybe they're hearing hunting, chewing, fighting that we can't hear. Let's see. They were following a straight path, these hyenas. No, we can't see them. Smell that. Smells bad, which is generally a good sign of wild dogs. Where they go. They're the wild dogs over there. I can see two of them. 3 of them. And I see a big hole over here, which is the road. So we are going to stop here. Let's go back a little bit, because that is the other reserve I told you about. So we can't go there. So we're going to wait here and look and listen. They caught something. So Marcel, you can see on their necks, on the ears, you can see it's red. Look at the one at the back, because he's side on, you can see the bit of red on his neck. They managed to catch something. What is that? 2 hyenas running down the road here, off to our right. But now look at Look at the wild dogs. Now you can see that red quite clearly when they're standing side on like this. I don't know what they... Oh, listen. So I don't know if you could hear that, but that was hyenas fighting with the wild dogs. Other side of this road though. So not somewhere that we can go. That's where those hyenas are running off to now. They heard that. And they are going to go see what all of that commotion's about. We're going to stop here, see if myself can get them. So Nicole wants to know why the wild dogs don't chase the hyenas away. Now Nicole, these guys have already eaten. We can see the blood on them. They don't have food with them, so there's no reason for them to fight the hyenas. For these three, the ones that are still back at whatever they caught, they will fight the hyenas a little bit. The hyenas, they are much, much bigger. One of these dogs, a big one, will weigh maybe 45 kilograms, where a big hyena can weigh sort of 60, 80 kilograms. So it's much, much heavier. It's not a fair fight. It smells horrible here. It might have caught something here, or... Oh, that's bad. So it's just not a fair fight for the wild dogs to fight the hyenas. They will defend their kill as long as there's more dogs than hyena. But as soon as the hyenas sort of outnumber the dogs, like this pack of 12, if 5 hyenas come, the pack will sort of stop fighting and let the hyenas take the food. The great thing is that they are heading back into Ngala, these three. We got a question from Bryanston, what's the place, and Colleen, the person, would like to know why the wild dogs have that white end of their tails. Now, Colleen, I don't know if you were listening when we were talking about the lions and all of their black. It's a follow me sign. So these wild dogs, when they're running through here, the ones behind them can see the white and they know, okay, there's one dog, there's another dog, so they know where to go. It's a follow me signal. I think there's water there. I think they're swimming in the water. We'll see if we can loop around. This area in front of us, you can see all of the pale soil there. It's protected soil. It's an area that we can't drive over. We're trying to rehabilitate it in a sense. So we're going to see if we can make our way around all of that and still get to these dogs. Now I think they just found a little water hole. This area when it rains becomes like a marsh. Very wet. You don't want to drive here after rains. You'll just get stuck. Your car will sink and you're done. Now in the distance I can still hear some hyenas and wild dogs sort of conflicting. But these... There's a big hole there, guys. Hold on. So where it becomes quite... Oh, look at the giraffe. Sorry. The giraffe. See, this is the water. They were swimming in the water here. So now we've got a question from Durban, from Paul. And Paul would like to know if these painted wolves are uncomfortable with the hyenas following them. Now, Paul, my answer would be yes. They know the hyenas are following them to steal their food. I would be very uncomfortable if someone followed me around all day to steal my food. So that is exactly, I'd imagine, how they feel as well. And you see, no interaction between the giraffe and the wild dogs. The giraffe, no, they got no problem with the wild dogs at all. Wild dogs are not going to do anything. The giraffe is just far too big. We'll just keep looking behind us to see if the rest of the pack or the hyenas come this way. But I can't see anything coming. Okay, it's going to get a little bit bumpy here, Marcel. Just hold on. You can still hear a little bit of the interaction with the hyenas. The hyena is very loud, a very open area this, so the noise travels quite far. You can actually see one hyena, just saw the dogs moved out of the way. 1 versus 3, not a fair fight. can still see them walking away in front of us. Okay, but you can see it is starting to get quite dark here. We're going to try to keep up there for a little bit longer, but eventually we are going to have to leave them if it gets too dark. So while we try and follow them, we're going to send you back to James, who's got some interesting lion behavior.
We've just come back to the kill. There's a wildebeest in there if you've just joined us. Both male lions, Blondie and Mohawk, wonderful names, are fighting over the carcass. One of the lionesses went in there and tried to take some, and the two males took a very dim view of that and decided that they wouldn't share with her. And the sound of lions having a fight is just blood-curdling. Almost as blood-curdling as the sound of the hole in the exhaust pipe of the Land Rover behind us. You can just hear them growling as they breathe. This is what lions will do. They'll lie on a carcass like this, not necessarily eat it, just lie on top of it in the hopes that they'll be able to digest sufficiently that they can then eat some more before somebody else takes their meal. Now you're in black and white because we've gone into infrared, and so we're not shining any artificial light on the situation. And there is another vehicle next to us, in case you thought the lions were talking English to each other. They don't in fact speak much English. Question from the Sachs family, kids in Israel, wondering what the most exciting sighting I've ever had is. It's impossible for me to answer that question because there have been so many wonderfully exciting things that I've been privileged to witness out here. I think the first thing that comes to mind currently is the wildebeest migration, the great river crossings of the wildebeest migration, where the crocodiles try to grab at the wildebeest. Oh, quickly, let's go across to Sean for one last look at the wild dogs. I think they're about to disappear.
Okay, so we've managed to keep up with these three. And I'm actually going to go back on what I said earlier. I think those hyenas were just fighting amongst themselves because these dogs, these three, have gone down the exact same path that we followed earlier, where we try to catch up with those other ones. And I think they're trying to find the rest of the pack. Because they're walking, they're stopping, they're listening, they're sort of whining every now and then. Let me just turn a bit. See, look at them like this. You see, they all stop, they're listening, they're watching, they're trying to find the rest of the dogs, the rest of their pack. We left them running further off to our left-hand side here. And I think that's exactly what they're doing. They're trying to find them. So I think only these three managed to catch something. They ate a fair amount. When they heard the hyenas coming, they left. Three of them can't take on hyenas, they left. The hyenas were fighting amongst themselves. But you can see it started to get very, very dark here. Now, wild dogs, they're daytime animals. They're going to look for a place to sleep now. Meet up with the rest of their pack and then find a place to sleep. What that means is we don't shine any lights on them. We don't put a spotlight on or anything like that. So as they run off now, we're going to leave them. We'll wait here for now. And as they go, we're going to go the other way. I think they gave us a fantastic show. Awesome following them at the beginning. Following them, walking through the open area. Then they went through the thicket. We found them on the other side. And so as I said, they're going to head in there, look for their pack. It's getting too dark for us. So we're going to make our way off. Thank you very much, dogs. We're going to send you back to James with his lions.
The lioness has just moved in here, and as you came over, lay down in the grass because the males stuck their heads up and started growling. Look at his growl. Such an interesting contrast of sound between that and the white-browed scrub robin behind us. Okay. Two or three of them are now growling. Matthew, the male eats first because he's the biggest. It's very simple to work out who's dominant in lion society. The biggest animal is the most dominant animal. So the bigger you are, the sooner you're going to eat. And in fact, that's the same in most mammal species. So in hyenas, the biggest female is normally the one that eats first. Apparently a lot of you got a fright when that happened. Yeah, it's, like I said, bone-chilling when they fight like that. I remember once at Ngala when I was working with Elvis, the most wonderful tracker, and we went to find lions on foot. And we heard that down in a dry riverbed. And I remember my bones being completely frozen and almost jumping clean out of my skin, and Elvis laughing heartily. But isn't it interesting how the birds just carry on? They're not interested in what's going on here. They've seen it all before. It's not a sound that affects them. So the crested franklin's calling his last. Robins are calling. And even a painted reed frog has started up at the waterhole where we first saw this lion. Well, the other lion. So Blondie is now eating. You can see his head lifting up and down behind there. And Mohawk is lying on his carcass. It's basically like being at a Thanksgiving or Christmas dinner and lying on top of the ham so that no one else gets a bite. And this hungry lioness is going to keep looking and hoping she'll get in there, but she won't chance it while this guy is in such a foul mood. Almost feel her impatience, because every time she moves he looks and he's growling at her. Other lioness is just to his right. We're now going to go back to Ngala and the wild dogs who, and I quote, are acting... No, we are not going back to Ngala at all. Sorry, don't know what's happened there. We're going to watch this lioness grooming herself. Now, the fastidious grooming that cats do, I am convinced, is an attempt to mask the stink of the viscera that covers them after they've eaten. And they do that because they hope to disguise their approach to their next victims. Speaking of which, a stink bug has just flown down my shirt. And I now smell like rotting coriander. Now we're going to go across to Ribbon's Den. Headquarters of the Djuma clan.
I'm still here, everyone. Do not worry. I haven't fallen off the edges. Well, the earth doesn't have any edges, but you know what I mean. I'm still here. Ribbon's here too. Oh, she's smelling. Oh, what do you smell, girl? We were actually tracking female leopard tracks for the past hour, and I'm convinced it's Tandy, but I shouldn't say that because that's speculation. Essentially, they are just female leopard tracks, but the route they are taking and where we found them is very much Tandy's route, but it also could possibly be Sabui. They have a sort of territorial boundary clash. So I do have a feeling Tandy's on the property, so I don't want to stay with Ribbon. I do want to move just in case we bump into a mobile leopard. Hello, Miss Ribbon. It's always... Oh, what do you smell? She really, really smells something, and it's not us, because we've been sitting here for quite a while. I'm sure Owen and I don't smell fantastic, but it's definitely not us. She smells something. I'm just going to get my spotlight and have a look around. George and Lauren in the UK. Fantastic question. A nice name, Lauren. I'm going to follow Ribbon, by the way. She smells something. I wonder if it's leopard. You're asking if we could be any animal, what would we be? Well, do you know what? We actually have the answer for you. We prepared a little Instagram story without knowing your question beforehand, of course, George and Lauren, and we've answered it. Our Instagram handles are going to pop up. Check them out. They're all on my page. Go to Lauren's one, and you will see exactly what each and every member of the crew would like to be if they were an animal. But I will tell you mine since you've just asked me. I'm going to move on. I think if I was an oceanic animal, I would be a menagerie. I don't know why. I just love them. And I like to think of myself as graceful and majestic, which I'm probably not, but still. And if I was a land animal, I think I would be a wild dog. I love the wild dog.
So we don't have to change the wheel here.
Okay, oh, and I don't know what you're telling me.
We've got a puncture.
Okay.
Drive very far away from Ribbon's End.
Natalie, are you still there? Yeah, I haven't heard from you in a while. Okay, we're going to send you guys back across to James.
Here we are, back with our lions. Well, actually a bush. Thank you, David, for that. Great shot, really award-winning stuff. And there's other people have left, and so we've got in a little bit closer. We can see a bit more of what's going on. That's the lioness to the right. In between the lioness and the lion is a wildebeest who is dead. Certainly he looks dead. I don't see any flicking of the ears, and he looks to be missing his right eye, unfortunately for him. Either that or he's doing a really remarkable thalatosis demonstration like Lauren was describing earlier on. Yes, Andrew, it is. It's a fiery neck nightjar you can hear. I can't hear one right now, but there was one earlier. Going It's also called the litany bird, because apparently what it's saying is, "Good Lord, deliver us! Good Lord, deliver us!" And you might just be able to hear the crunching of bones where Blondie is eating to the left-hand side of Mohawk. I'm just going to quickly give you an idea of how dark it is right now. David's going to flick off his infrared light. There we go. And there's the sky, the very last embers on the western horizon. So that's what the lions are dealing with. And that's what this poor wildebeest was dealing with when he was set upon sometime in the small hours of this morning. Can you imagine how terrifying it must be wandering around here in the darkness, knowing that these things could be looking out for you? Yes, for a while they do reflect from Safari Lover. The eyes do reflect for a while after they're dead, but that tapetum lucidum will, like the rest of the body, rot, and if the eye is not eaten, obviously it's one of the most fluid-rich parts of the body, it will disintegrate probably much more quickly than any other part of the body, certainly externally, and so it'll stop reflecting. But yeah, it will reflect even if the animal is dead. It's a bit of a myth, I think, that the reflection stops as soon as the animal dies, as if it's a switching off of the light of life. As I was saying a little bit earlier, I've watched a lot of animals being killed by lions, mainly in the Masai Mara, mainly wildebeest. And it's pretty harrowing when you watch the life snuffed out of something. You know, like this, it doesn't feel quite so almost real because they're basically on the stake. But to watch that animal going from a grazing, canoeing wildebeest to what it is now, I find quite difficult. Now, I think Mohawk has eaten heavily today, which is why he's breathing so hard. Sashin, no, thankfully the lions do not try and attack us during the night. I certainly don't think I'd be living out here if my personal safety was at risk to lions on a nightly basis. Currently, what they see when they turn and look at us is a vehicle. It's not clear in what way they perceive us, though, because if we were on foot, walking here, it would be a very different story. We could be in real danger at night, and during the day, they'd most likely move away. They could move away at night as well, but if you didn't see them and just walked past them, chances are they'd come after you. In our camp, there's really no danger. I mean, lions do come through the camp from time to time, but we always walk with torches, and so we can see them, and they tend to avoid places where there's a lot of human noise and human smell, and so they'll pass through from time to time. They don't come looking and foraging, which the hyenas do. The hyenas regularly come through the camp trying to get a dustbin or somebody's shoes. Very proprietorial is that male lion. Now, Hannah, in Dubai, the wildebeest are not necessarily the most hunted here. in South Africa, because we don't have the same numbers of wildebeest that they do up in East Africa, where 1.2 million of them migrate into the Masai Mara every year. The most killed animal out here is probably buffalo, impala actually, but we often don't see the impala kills because they're finished so quickly. But a wildebeest in East Africa is killed the most because it's the most numerous, and that's the same with impala here. Impala are the most numerous. I think a wildebeest is the ideal size, though, for pride of lions like this. They're not very dangerous for a pride like this to kill, whereas a buffalo is, and they are a lot of meat for relatively little effort. But there are simply not that many of them here, and that's why much more numerous animals like impala, I think, are eaten far more. And then when this whole pride is together, when that big Nkuhuma pride is operating as a unit, buffalo is the thing that they're after. Sometimes giraffe, but buffalo they do eat a lot of. So Mr. Proko, no, I don't think a guide would be able to hold his own on foot at night. I've done walks at night. I've done a walk at night once with guests. It was on a full moon night in a completely open clearing, and we had a vehicle drive sort of 100 meters in front of us. And it was an eerie experience. I mean, I didn't feel unsafe because there was somebody in front of us in a vehicle, so when a hippo was spotted, he just came back and said, "There's a hippo there, everybody jump in the car." So we were never in any danger, but it's a very different feeling. You don't want to be walking around out here at night. Nighttime is a different time. I'll tell you quite an amusing story while we wait and see if something happens here, but there was a chap once who worked, in fact he's still around now, and he had a girlfriend at a lodge a long way from where he worked. It was at the other end of this road that we're sitting on now. And where his girlfriend worked, he wasn't allowed to be. He'd been banned. And so he went for a visit. I think he'd had quite a few drinks while there. Said goodbye to his lady friend because he knew if he was found there in the morning, he'd be in trouble. And his car broke down almost immediately. And he walked through a huge rainstorm in the dead of the night, about 15 kilometers along this road that we're on now. And in the morning, they found lion tracks right next to where he'd walked. They assumed there was a poacher because he was barefoot. And so they follow the tracks, eventually terminating at this chap's door. Banged on the door, opened it, and there he was, still sopping wet, fast asleep, his feet slightly lacerated from the walk, but otherwise none the worse for wear, having survived a 15-kilometer walk entirely by chance through this area on a stormy night. And I would say that that's unusual. You don't want to take a chance like that. I can only assume he wasn't seen. One can only assume also that he had had a substantial amount to drink. Let's now go back across to Sean, who I think has left his wild hounds, and he's probably got his spotlight out looking for things.
So I have some good news on our way out. Those 3 painted wolves that we were following managed to join up with the rest of the pack. So we saw all of them come together, and it looks like they were moving onto Ngala, which is fantastic. But then it got dark and we left. But it was really awesome. Glad that they did manage to find each other. They did manage to join up. Didn't look like the rest of the pack had eaten though. So I think my correction was correct. And only those 3 had eaten. But you never know. Fairly clear tonight, no moon, so they're probably not going to hunt tonight, possibly tomorrow morning with Nikki, if they remained on Ngala. What we're doing is looking for chameleons, looking for leopards. Now, some of the other guys were following tracks of a female with a cub leopards in this area here. So we're hoping, now that it is dark, this is leopard's active time. This is when they're coming out, they're moving around. She might be moving the cub around, taking it to food, looking for food. That is an impala. So we're hoping to catch some activity. You can see we're going to go drop into the river, and that's where they were following the tracks along the banks of the river, which is a great place. Much thicker vegetation, lots of antelope around. And there's also, all of the vegetation means good chances for chameleons. Chameleons live in these bushes on the sides of these bigger trees where you can see the light, where they got a lot of protection, a lot of cover. Good areas to camouflage. We've also passed one or two hyenas that look naughty and just sulking around, waiting for an opportunity. But how amazing was it earlier to follow the hyenas that then led us to the wild dogs? I mean, the way these animals not coordinate, because wild dogs don't like them, but how they can find each other is awesome. You know, it's one of the things that they teach you for all of those wanting to become guides. Learning animal behavior, knowing, okay, the wild dogs are hunting, hyenas are going to follow, to know what to follow and when to follow. Important part of the job. A very important part. But it's a pretty warm evening tonight. Ooh, another bush. Temperature hasn't dropped that much, which is very nice. Okay, so we're going to send you back to James quickly. Apparently he's got some line activity.
They've just had another big fight. There was great growling and consternation. I think the lioness tried to sit up and have a bite. Ah, and there is Blondie. He is not particularly enamored with his brother. Look at that, isn't it a lovely picture? They want to be angry and they want to fight, but they're so full and fat that they don't know if they can. That's aimed at us. That little growl there. He's just saying to us, don't come any closer. Which we won't. Mohawk has always been a little bit less friendly than his brothers with the vehicles. Things seem to have calmed down now. He's still growling because the lioness right next to us is moving around. The wildebeest, of course, remains unaffected. Kyle, you want to know why my spirit animal is the earthworm? Well, Kyle, earthworms are very important to the world, and he's referring to an Instagram story, everyone, where I said my spirit animal was an earthworm. I don't think it is really, Kyle. I think that was more of a joke. I don't know if I have a spirit animal. I hope it's something. No, the Battalier eagle, or maybe the Marshall eagle. Not that there's anything ignoble about an earthworm. Let's just see what this lioness does now. See if she tries to steer. She's just trying to sneak slowly closer and closer, because she's got the smell of delicious roast wildebeest, in fact very rare wildebeest, in her nose. Oh, here we go. Now the lioness is getting a little proprietorial. Lying on her side like that is quite a submissive posture. So you'll see her just kind of slowly sneak closer and eventually hopefully get her teeth into a position where she can have a small bite to eat. While these males, who long ago forgot chivalry, lie. Here she goes, you see? Now she's licking the wildebeest's head, pretending she's not that interested. Let's just see what happens here. See if she tries. Here we go. Things have calmed down, and you see how she's assumed that submissive posture again, pretending she's not interested. And he's now looking to the ruffling grass to his right, your left, because the other lioness is now sneaking slowly closer as well. About moving off. No, he's not. He's going to have to go and drink at some stage. He probably will choose to go and drink at some stage, at which point all the lionesses, or the two lionesses, will leap in. I believe there was a cub here this morning, and I've seen no sign of the cub at all. I suspect it's lying away, trying desperately to stay away from this angry noise. Oh, Andy, that's very easy to answer. The most badly behaved animals in the world are, of course, human beings. But next to them, in this particular area, the most badly behaved animals are the monkeys. In fact, the closer you get to human beings in the animal kingdom, the naughtier the creatures become. So baboons and monkeys out here are really naughty. Constantly they are trying to steal our things and knock our dustbins over. Right, we're coming to the end of the show, everybody, so as I said earlier, if you would like to support us, you can go to wildearth.tv/support, and we'd appreciate anything that you would like to contribute. Otherwise, you are contributing hugely by just being part of these live safaris. And as I like to say every night, during this time of humanity's almost, I think for the first time ever, universal struggle against one common enemy, I hope that you are drawing some healing from the wilderness with us. And it is hugely exciting, wonderful, and a massive privilege for us to be taking all of you on safari every single day. So stay safe and happy and healthy wherever you happen to be in the world. We'll see you tomorrow at 0600. Until then, bye-bye.